Hi, I have your file and I read your email, and I'm going to go slow on this one because I want you to see all the steps because they're going to become very repetitive. But I want to start with the fact that this white layer that you have here is just a layer so we don't have to see the checkerboard background at times. So where does it go? It goes underneath or one above the last layer. Okay, because we don't really need this original anymore, kind of. I mean, we do, but we don't. And I'll show you what I mean. So I examined the copy of your red channel. I'm going to click on it. And you did a really good job. Let me do something here. Okay. You did a really good job, but all of this for him has to be colored white. Okay, so I've created two pretty accurate paths. And I want to zoom in to the first accurate path. So what I did was I drew, and I'm going to click back up to the RGB image so we're not looking at the red copy channel. So I'm clicking right there. And I'm going to zoom in and I'm going to click on this path. Now, can you see how accurate I drew this path so that actually I didn't draw it accurately. I want to just move that over just a little bit. Okay, so I included his face and the rest of his area down here in his suit so I could just color it white. Okay, so that's the first thing we're going to do. All right, so I'm going to make a selection of your red copy. I just command clicked on it. Now I'm going to, or I control clicked on it. Now I'm going to add this path to it. Well, how do I do that? I hold control and shift. You can see a plus sign right here, okay? And I'm going to click on it. Now, I have an accurate path for his whole body, okay? Now I can click to the red copy and fill it with white. So I'm going to go control backspace. Now I have an accurate path so that I could cut him out minus his ears. Now, what I'm going to do first, though, is add his ears to this. So I'm going to cut him out with his ears. So I'm going to click back up to the RGB image, and I'm going to click to the accurate ears. I should have labeled that accurate ears. And there are times that we're going to draw a path bigger than we need, but let me deselect. Here's his ears, and I'm going to marquee them and click on them and show you. See how I'm going to turn it into a selection, so I'm going to control click on it. See how accurate I got the ear, okay, on both sides of his head. Okay, so we need to add that to a new copy of the channel. So I'm going to make a duplicate copy of it. Okay, I'm going to now fill this with white and then get rid of any little black. So with the ears, accurate ears selected, okay, I'm going to just fill up this channel. So I click to the channel with white, which is control backspace. Okay, now you can see how I have some things going on here. So I need to click to this RGB image and then click back to this to see what's going on and to see what I've messed up. Well, we need to get more accurate on the edge of his hair. See how you have too much out here, which is really background? Okay, so I have to kind of fix it. So I'm going to click up to this, which is the RGB image, and make a new path like this. So watch how I make a new path around his and I'll tell you where the problem came from, around his actual, let me Z back twice. I don't like what I did there. And, okay, I need to, there we go. I'm going to click right there. It's the shadow that was behind here that kind of messed you up a little bit. So look what I'm going to do here. I'm just going to circle that just like this. And let's go see if the other side has the same issue, kind of. So let's go around here, and then we have to add black to the channel to get a more accurate cutout of this. So now I'm just going to, I'll call this additional. This is what you have to do sometimes because he has dark around here that is kind of confusing the channel. Okay, so let's click back to this channel. Do you see where I have to add black right there where I'm pointing and right there where I'm pointing to be more accurate to this? Okay, so let's click to the red copy that I made. Control click on that and just add black. So Alt backspace. Good. Now we have a fairly accurate overall channel that we can use to get rid of his background. So let's do that. Let's make a selection by control clicking on this. Now, I didn't do one thing. I have little ickies left over here. So I'm going to take my lasso and lasso around this right there, just a real quick one, and I'm going to fill it with white. So am I selected on the channel? Yes. White is control backspace. Now let's do it here and come around his ear like this and get rid of all that. So let's go control backspace. Deselect. Let's go over to the other side. Let's surround this little thing. I could use my paintbrush and just paint white too. That would have been the same thing. So by using a lasso, I created a channel. Okay, now that's going to be a good cutout. That's your first task. You need a channel just like this. A channel that actually, look at what I'm doing and stare at his image. Okay, look at how accurate I am around the outer image. Okay, and that's important. Now, let's make a selection of it by control clicking. Click to this original copy and just add the layer mask. Now he has no, see how there's a checkerboard background? Now we can deal with this. We can cut out different things from this and use this layer for his blank face too. That would be fine. And I suppose you're going to want to separate the body from the head. That's something we can do later. I'll even show you a little bit of that. And I want to see if this head that you did, see you even drew the head layer that you didn't really follow his chin line. So on this head layer, I'm sorry, it's not a layer. This head path, we need to supplement, we need to redraw this head path. Okay, so I'm going to do that right now. So I'm going to hold the control key and click on this and turn it off. Let's go to a new head. This is just stuff you just have to kind of just watch to know. So I'm going to start out here like you did, but I'm going to go around his neck and his chin line a lot accurately, very accurately, like this. So when I want to cut out his head in a little while, or cut out his body in a little while from his head, we can use this same path. So watch what I'm going to do here. Click, click, click all the way around like this, and just make sure that that's an okay path. Now I'll rename it head 2, okay? And I'm going to hold the control key and click on it to turn it off. Now, we want to cut out different parts from this, okay? I assume you're going to want to probably make the ears bigger. That's not a big deal. So what I'm going to do is start the process of thinking my way through this. All right, let's call this your safe copy. And never damage it. Got it? Never damage it. So I'm even going to color it red. Now I'm going to duplicate it. Now on that one here, let's lock this one up just so we don't touch it. And hide it. Okay, on this one, we're going to right-hand click on the mask and we're going to apply it. Now I can do things to this and take things away from this, meaning you're probably going to want to make his ears bigger, so let's remove his ears from this. Okay, let's go back to his ears right here. I'm sorry, his accurate ears right here. And let's, to make sure that, I'm just going to show you what I'm going to show you. I don't want to click on this layer and hit Control J to make a copy of his ears because there may be some pixels left over on the edge. So what do you do in that case? Okay, I'm going to go to Select, Modify, Expand by 1 pixel, just by 1 pixel. Now I can click here to this layer and hit Control J. Now I have both his ears, unfortunately, on the same layer. Let me turn this off and show you. Okay, so we're going to separate this ear and this ear. Okay, that's not going to be hard. I'll just duplicate this layer and remove two of them. I mean, I could have done it one at a time, but this is fine. So I'm going to turn off his ears and click back to this now. Now I'm going to make a selection of his ears again. I should have done this already. Select, modify, expand by 1 pixel, and just hit the delete key on this because I don't want his ears on that layer. Okay, don't, because I have his ears on this layer. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, that's cool. Now, what I want to do here is start, boy, does he look weird without his ears, doesn't he? Let's now use this copy. I'm even going to call it save copy 2 and save the file. Now we want to use this to get his parts from. And there's one more issue. You need more area around his parts. Okay? And since his eyebrows are very close to his eyes, we're going to do that I'm going to do that at 1 lasso on this. And then we can do the blank face. Okay, so click, Brian, hit your lasso. I don't need any of your paths because they're too accurate. I'm going to give this a lot of room around this eye. Why? Well, because I can eliminate all that extra room on a layer mask. Now that's his right eye. So I'm going to click on this and hit Control J and call this right eye. Don't worry about how big the lasso is, please. So let's go around this one and give it a lot of extra room. And you're going to see how easy it is to deal with that extra room using layer masks. So let's click to the safe copy. You got to click to the layer you want to command Control J from. So let's go Control J and make another copy. Let's call this left eye. I should say left eye area, but you understand. Okay, so now you can see how I have his eyes cut out. Well, let's do his nose. So you got to click to this layer, get a lot of his nose, way up like this, way around like this, way around like this. Don't care as long as you have enough, because we can eliminate it. Click, what is the quick key? Yes, Control J. Let's call this nose. Now, let's get his mouth. So let's go around the mouth, big around the bottom lip and around the top of his mouth. Now, click to that safe copy, because I was on his nose layer, Control J, see it gets to be repetitive. And let's call this mouth. Now, it's up to you whether you want any more parts, like laugh lines or whatever, okay? But now let's get rid of, I'm going to hit Control S to save. Now, let's use this safe copy to make a blank face. So I'm turning off all these parts. See how I turned off all the parts? Let's name this ears. And let me fix his ears layer so you see how quickly to fix his ears layer. So I'm turning everything off but his ears. Okay, duplicate it. Watch how simple. Let's call this his right ear, which I'm pointing to right now. Okay, and let's call this his left ear, which I'm pointing to right now. So on his left ear, correct, I'm on that layer, right? I'm going to turn off right ear. I'll show you why I turned off right ear. And I'm going to make a lasso, big lasso around this and just hit delete. Now you wouldn't have seen that go away if I would have had that layer on too. Do you understand what I'm saying? Okay, so deselect Brian. Turn off left ear, turn on right ear, click to right ear, highlight with or surround that with a lasso and just hit the delete key. Now, we have left ear, we have right ear, we have right eye, we have left eye, we have nose, and we have mouth. Okay, let's turn them all off and save the file. I'm going to take a copy of the original layer. I'm going to duplicate it. I'm going to put it way up at the top. Please do that and call it clicky. Now, look at how I can turn it off and on to see how I'm doing. Okay, but for the most part and always it stays off, except when you want to see how things are reacting. So turn on the safe copy, click to the safe copy. Let's duplicate the safe copy and call it blank face. Now let's start the process of separating his body from this. Okay, how do you do that? Well, I made a path. Now I can Command or Control click on this path, right? I want to get rid of the bottom. Okay, I don't want the bottom. So what do I have to do? I have to inverse the path and just hit delete. Okay, that was easy, right? Let's Control S and save the file. Now let's make a copy of his body. Turn this off. Let's click back to the safe copy. Let's now simply, with the same selection active, okay, because it's the inverse of this one. I'm not going to click to it, but it's the inverse. Well, I can't. It's the inverse of this one right here, right? So let me Command click over here to turn it off. Now all I have to do is click and hit Control J, and look, I have, let me turn off this down here, which is my safe copy, and let's call this neck and body. Now we'll use that later. Okay, now let's go to his blank face. Let's use the techniques that we were given, that Photoshop gives us, to get rid of his parts. Okay, and I don't even care how bad they look. So again, I surround, now this time only surround the area that you want gone by about 1/4 inch to 1/8 of an inch around. So you see how nicely I did that? Brian, are you selected on the blank face layer? Yes, but do you really want to ruin this one? No. So I'm going to duplicate it, turn off the bottom one, and take this away from being red. So actually I'm going to say blank face, if I can actually do this, number 2. I always make layers so I don't have to redo stuff, you know? Okay, so that's cool. Is this bottom one off? Yes, save the file. Now, the quick key is Shift F5. So I'm going to go, and that's what I'm going to click every time. So fill is Shift F5. So you can see how I'm going to hit Content Aware and take this away. Okay, why didn't that go away? Let me make sure. Let me go Shift F5. It's Content Aware. Oh, you know why? No, I'm correct, Mr. Sorio. Let me see what the problem is. Okay, sometimes Photoshop just whatever. I'm going to click away and click back to that layer. Don't ask me why. And let's go Shift F5 and hit the return key, and that's not removing that. So what did I do? Nothing. I should save the file, quit, and reopen Photoshop. That's probably the issue, okay? Because everything is right. I want to remove the pixels from that layer using Content Aware, and it should be working. So let me go one more time, which is very silly. Make sure that the fill is on Content Aware. Color adaptation, opacity 1%. Okay, that should be, I don't know how that changed. But opacity, I think, should be up at 100%. And now, yes, that was my issue. I don't know when that occurred, but it occurred. Probably when I was helping another student yesterday. So sometimes you just gotta have patience. Now look at how I'm surrounding this eye right here and the eyebrow. Okay, Function Shift F5 and hit the return key. Let's surround the whole nose area. Because you may want to do something with the nose. And we have another nose. So Function Shift F5, return key. Okay, let's go now here to the mouth. Let's use the lasso and surround the mouth. Okay, this is cool. And Function Shift F5 and Mouth is gone. Now, that's a good blank face. I don't like this little thing that's left over right there, so let's use the healing brush, the spot healing brush. Oh, caps lock is on. That's why, Brian. It was showing up as a crosshair, not as a circle. So I'm going to now make sure I'm on that layer and just take that away with the spot healing brush. All right, and that's probably a mole that's on his body, but I'm taking it away too, which I probably should put it back, but whatever. Okay, so now we have a blank face, okay, which is important to have a clicky copy so you can see where all the stuff was. So let's turn this off, and now I'm going to make his ears bigger. So I'm going to click on his ears, and I'm actually going to show both ears, and I'm going to select both layers. Don't worry about this. And Control T. Okay, now watch this. I'm going to hold Alt and grab a corner because I can hold Alt and it will make his ears bigger like this. Okay, now the reason I did both, I shouldn't show you this way. I shouldn't show you this way. So I'm going to hit the return key, Control Z back, and do it the right way, which isn't the right way, it's just the better way to show you. Because I want you to see how Control T, or transform, can work from the center out. That's what I wanted to show you. So let's hit Control T, hold Alt, and look at how I can do that from the center out. Okay, now let's even make them wider. So I want to hold the Shift key so only we make it wider like this. Now let's kind of do the same thing on the other side. I'm kind of picky, so I'm going to put a guide at the top of the ear and a guide at the bottom of the ear just so I see how big to make this one. Okay, click to the right ear, Control T, hold Alt, make it bigger like I'm doing right now. Okay, that's good. Let me move this up and over. Okay, that's good right there. Now, these ears right here, what's the problem? Well, Brian, they belong lower than the blank face because I want them behind the face, not in front of the face. So I put them underneath blank face too. And there is a beautiful thing. Now, this cutout line here is too harsh. Do you follow what I'm saying? Okay, so let's start with something right now. Okay, let's learn how to soften areas. So I'm going to get rid of the guides. That's Control semicolon. All right, and let's click to the blank face. Yes, Brian, you're on the correct layer. Click to the blank face, add a layer mask, hit your B key, make your brush relatively the nice size, and soften things. So look, I'm going to paint at 15 on the flow. Right hand click to all the way soft. Okay, 15 on the flow, all the way soft. Foreground color is black. Oh, I can just soften the edge of this hair so it looks more normal when I zoom back out. Let me make the brush a little smaller and just take the time. That's why I said I'm going to take the time on this to soften the edge of things so they don't look so harsh. There. Now look, I can come down here and I can soften this right there. And now look at how nice that's actually looking on his head, even though that looks very strange. Let's take the same thing and soften this to get rid of that little corner. Let's come up like this, and maybe his ears need to be slightly lower, which is okay. And let's just soften the edge of, remember I'm softening the edge of his blank face. There. Now, look at how nice that looks. Here's the regular Ben Stiller. Here's what Brian horribly did. And his ears are not good. That's too much of a dark right there. So what I could do is I could find that ear, which is his left ear, add a layer mask, make my paintbrush smaller, and just round off that so it's not so dark on top of that ear. Which is fine, nobody's ever going to know, and I have artist license. I can do what I want, right? Okay, let's go back. That looks better. Now, that one's okay. Okay, so let me save the file. Now let's click to his let's decide at this point, or I'm going to decide, to take his body and make it smaller. I just want to see what that's going to look like. Okay, so again, look at the clicky copy. It lets you see where everything is. You did a beautiful job on his hair, on the cutout of his hair. You really did. Now, let me click to his neck and body. Hit Control T. Whoops, I'm sorry. I got to turn. I did a student thing right there. I was working on a layer down here, but this layer covers everything up, so I couldn't see what I was going to do. Now I can see what I'm going to do. You follow? So let's click on this and hit Control T. Okay. Let's hold Alt so this gets smaller from the center. Okay, that's good enough. And let's now move his neck down and kind of go like this, and then maybe even hold the Shift key and make this longer, just a little longer, so we elongate his neck, and that looks good. So now we have a Ben Stiller with a little thing going on there, okay, meaning a little body. Save the file. Now let's look at his eyes. And maybe we need to make his eyes, I don't know what you want to do, but maybe we need to make his eyes slightly bigger and maybe just a little bushier. Okay, so let's click to his right eye. And I'm going to turn off his blank face so you can see that it's going to need a layer mask to soften that right eye, because we have a hard edge around there, right? Okay, but don't worry about it yet. So let's click to his right eye, hit Control T, hold Alt, and make his eye bigger, just bigger, with his eyebrow, and move it up just slightly. Now, we can hit the V key for the Move tool, turn this on so I make sure that I have his eye pretty much in the right place, and move it over if I have to. Whoops. No, I did that right. Okay, so let's now move this over just a little bit, and let's now go like this, and you can see how I did that pretty good. So let's now click to his left eye. Click the visibility, turn off clicky, Control T, hold Alt, make it bigger, move it over slightly, hit the return key, and now see if that's in the right area. Okay, now let's make it work. Okay, so what do? Turn off blank face. Let's, for the moment, turn off his ear, turn off his ear. Okay. Add a layer mask to the right eye, add a layer mask to the left eye. Click on the right eye. Hit the paintbrush. Now I'm going to get this done a little faster, so I'm going to dangerously put that up at 25% and make my brush this big. Now I want you to see how I'm going to go around here and soften. And why do I show this without the blank face on? Because I want you to see why we add layer masks to things. Now I'm going to make my brush smaller, and then when I turn on the blank face, I can actually do more editing if I want to this. So you see how I'm using a semi-big brush at 25% to make that work. Now let's go over to this one. So we have to click to that layer mask, do the same thing, just take away all that extra skin. Thank goodness, Brian, I'm talking to myself, thank goodness I gave it extra skin. How much extra skin? I don't know. Enough is enough, right? Meaning don't make yourself, give yourself more than, I'm not saying this well, give yourself more than you need. There, I said that perfectly. As I am still painting on that eye right there. Now, can we turn on, save the file, thank you. Now, let's turn on the blank face, and you can see that I've made his eyes a whole lot bigger. Now maybe we want to make them squintier, just a little squintier. I've got them too puffy. So I'm going to click on both eyes, all right, hit Control T, and I'm going to hold the Shift key and just make them a little bit more squinty like this. Now, with both of them selected, I'm going to turn on the clicky copy and put a guide down where the center of his pupils kind of were. even though the left eye is up a little higher. Okay, so now I'm turning this off, and you can see how I need to move the eyes down. Do you see that? See, by putting a guide there, it showed me that. So if I take the V key and just move this down, do you see how now I have that in the exact area that I needed right there? Okay, let's hit Control semicolon to turn it off. And do you see how there's too much left over on this eye? Let me show you what I'm talking about. Let's take the left eye. See this bright skin that I have right there on that? Shouldn't be there. So let's click to the layer mask, hit the B key, and let's just soften this by painting black on the layer mask. And you can see how I needed to do a little extra. Let's go on this side. Oops, there's more on that side. So now look at how, oh yeah, look at how I need to just minimize this. Okay, nothing's happening. Let me make sure I'm on that eye. Whoops, 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 whoops. Brian did another bad thing. I didn't click to the layer mask. Now I'm going to actually eliminate that. Oh, that looks really good. Now, this is what a caricature artist does. They look to the image and they say, what has to happen to his nose? Well, in this case, I think his nose needs to get smaller. So let's go to the nose. Oops. I turned on the wrong blank face. I should have locked that layer. This is the blank face I want to turn on. Sorry, that happens. Let's go to the nose. Now let's turn on the clicky copy and put a guide right where the center of his nose shine is. Do you see where I'm pointing right there? That's the center of his nose. So now I can turn this off. Click on my nose, hit Control T. See how it gets to be about the same thing? Hold Alt. See, if I don't hold Alt, the nose will get bigger as I drag to the bottom right. I'm going to Control Z back. But if I hold Alt, it gets bigger from the center or smaller from the center. So I like that size nose right there. Let's put the shine down where it's supposed to go. Let's zoom in. Hit Control semicolon to turn the guides off. Now what does his nose layer need? Well, Brian, a layer mask. Let's now soften the top of the nose, this harsh line right over here, and that's basically all I had to do on the nose, like this. Now let me turn off the blank face so you can see that, whoops, sorry. Let's soften the whole edge of this nose. Even if the line doesn't show up, isn't it a better idea to soften all that extra skin? Turn on the blank face and you can see what I've done. Okay, so far, let's turn on his ears and we've really destroyed Ben Stiller. Now let's turn on his mouth. Now his mouth needs to be, in my opinion, since he has a tiny mouth and a tiny nose, let's make it even tinier. That's what I'm going to do. So, am I clicked on that layer? Yes. Control T. Hold what key? Yes. Alt. Now I can make his mouth smaller. Now what I should have done is turn on the clicky copy, put a guide down for where the center of his teeth are right here, so I can just use that off center. See how, here I'll put another guide on the other side of his front teeth. Okay, so I'm looking right at this area right here. If I wanted to, and the guides were getting confusing, I could go to Guides, and I can clear guides. Now, let's go to put in another one for the center, and this time I'll just put one right in the center so I know where the center of his mouth is supposed to be. Because if I don't be somewhat accurate, see how far off I am? See that? So if I didn't use guides, I wouldn't have known that to move his mouth right there. Now that is really cool. That's really cool. Now I'm going to have to get this area between his nose and his mouth a little better, meaning see how he's got, well, he doesn't have a whole lot of cleft right there, you know, that little indent, but I've lost it, so I've got to get that back. So let me turn off blank face, click to the mouth. Now you got to know what I'm going to do, right? Add a layer mask, hit the B key, and do what? Soften the edge. So let's go get that area, the next one that I'm going to need, and I'm going to have to use one of the layers that has all of his features as I'm painting and talking at the same time. Okay, that looks good, right? I can turn on his blank face. So I'm going to turn on this face. I'm going to get rid of the guide, Control semicolon. I'm going to click to clicky just for a second and take the lasso, and I'm going to lasso a really big lasso around that area right here and hit what? Click, Control J, move it one above the mouth, and let's call this upper lip. Sorry, that is a blower. I'm going to close the door. Sorry about that. That was getting in the way of my speaker. And now let's turn off clicky. Now let's take the V key, turn off the blank face. Now I'm still clicked on upper lip. I can actually move the upper lip where it needs to go right there. Isn't that cool? Now, what does it need? A layer mask. Hit the B key. Soften this edge so it blends into what's already there in the blank face. Soften this edge. Get rid of that extra lip right there. So I'm only using that one, meaning the one that's underneath. And I'm going to hit Control T on the image. So I had to click to the image, not the mask, the image. Hit Control T, hold the Shift key, and make this go down farther. See how I did that? Okay. Now let's click back to the mask and get rid of this harshness right there. Turn on the blank face, and I have Ben Stiller in a pretty good caricature. Now, how do you put him and get him ready to go into another file? The answer is, and this is what I want you to do, I'm going to click to his top layer of the parts. I'm going to click to the blank face, left ear, right ear. So do you see how I've got all of these parts right here? Okay, that's basically all I need, except look, I need to move this neck and body above that extra locked blank face because I want all these layers right here. Now I'm going to hit the folder, and there is your art right there. Now what I can do inside there, and I want you to kind of play this again if you have to, but we're going to make a copy merged layer of this. I have to pause this just for 1 second. I was about to sneeze and I didn't want to sneeze. So this isn't what we bring into the other file. We bring what's called a copy merged layer into a background. So I'm going to click, let me make this wider so you can see what I'm doing. I'm going to click on this right eye layer, go all the way down to his neck and body, and shift click. Now the key command to make a copy layer of this, a copy merged layer, without ruining all of these is Control Alt E. So I want you to hit Control Alt E and it'll say whatever the last layer was merged. So I'm going to double click this and take the right eye name array and I'm going to say main or Ben or something. Now I'm going to move it out of the folder. Okay, so we know that the entire art is here. The copy merged layer is here. And this is the one that you can right-hand click on when you get a background. And you can duplicate it and change it to the background file. So I'll go get a background and be right back. Just a minute. Okay, so I went to the internet and I got why I got Paris, I have no idea. So I got a Paris background, okay, with the Eiffel Tower. It's 22 inches wide, so I'm going to go to image and image size and get this ready to turn into the professor. So I'm going to go to image size. I'm going to shrink this to about 10 inches wide at 300 ppi. That's what I want you to do. Okay, so look what I'm going to do. Hit OK. Now I have that background. Now I'm going to go to the other file. So I can go, there's a quick key, but I'll show you that I'm just going to go to the Ben Stiller file. Now I want to make sure this is the right size. So I'm going to go to Image and Image Size. This one is 20 at 72. I'm also going to make it 10 at 300. Okay, and say OK. Just let it do its thing. And now I'm going to zoom back out. Okay, I'm going to hit Control S to save my file. Now, right-hand click and duplicate Ben to the Eiffel Tower or whatever background you choose. Now I can go Control tilde, which is the key above the Tab key, which is the same as going down to the bottom and go back to the Eiffel Tower. Now, reason I did this is I want you to see something neat. I'm going to hit the V key and move Ben slightly over, and then I want to soften the edge of him. He's too harsh, way too harsh. So what does he need? He needs a layer mask. Now slowly, I'm going to take a paintbrush at about 25%, and I'm going to just soften his edge so he's not real harshly cut out. Do you see how I'm going to do that? It's almost as if you just need to take your time, and then when we get around his hair, we're going to have to make him a little bit, the brush a little bigger. So you see how I'm just softening the edge of his suit here, just softening it so it diffuses into the background. That's too harsh of a line. So let's go like this and just soften it. And that's what I kind of want you to do. Okay, I want you to take your time and soften that edge as best you can. It's good brush control too. So you can see here how I'm just going down this arm with my mouse or my electronic pen. You can see how that looks better. Now if you've gone too far, all you have to do is hit the X key and we can put some of that back in. So you see, don't worry about taking out too much because you can always put a little bit more back in. So I'm going to hit the X key again and go around his face here. So let's go around his face and just soften that. Whoops, I made a mistake. A misdirection. Now I'm going to take a larger paintbrush around his hair. It's way too cutty out look, right? So let's go around his hair like this. I'm going to take the flow down to about 15. I'm painting in black. Whoops, it didn't let me do it. That's at 1. 1 is not good. 15 is good. Now look, I'm just going to soften the edge of his hair. Just so when I get back, it doesn't look like it's just cut out too much with a pair of scissors. So let's go around his head just a little bit like this and just soften his head. Let me get close on this side and just soften his head, and then it'll look good. And then we should take a smaller brush. I should have made my flow back up a little bit so this doesn't take me so long, but I'm not going to do the greatest job here around his suit. I'm just going to soften that edge just slightly right there, and then come around his harsh shoulder right there and just soften it. And now, and this is a perfect example, see how there's some leftover blue? And this is my fault because I cut it out. So that's left over from the other background, correct? So adding a layer mask to this is a fantastic way to not only soften the edge, but get rid of any remaining background that was from the other file. And there is Ben in Paris. Okay, so I still think it looks like Ben. So now, if I wanted to see what Ben really looked like, again, I could go back to this file, turn on the clicky copy, and you can see what we've done. Now that should give you a pretty good idea of how to fix that red channel that you made, which you did a good job on. So you're going to have to go slow with this. and watch it a few times. Thank you.